We're sisters, best friends, and authors on a mission to help you stoke your creative fire and live the life of your dreams. We believe that purpose fuels passion and that creativity is your secret weapon for mass construction. There's never been a better time to bless the world with your dream realized. You're listening to The Kate and Abbie Show. What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of The Kate and Abbie Show. Today, we're talking about how to get out of a writing rut quickly. And this is something that a lot of writers go through. They go into writing ruts or writer's block, or just a feeling, not even so much writer's block, but just a feeling of no inspiration, no drive, no motivation. And this is something that Kate and I have both experienced firsthand. We've experienced it a lot as writers. And today we're talking about some actionable tips, some actionable things you can do to get out of a writing rut quickly and to start writing again. So if you're experiencing just this lull in your writing life, keep listening. This episode is for you. Before we get started, we have to thank our patrons who are you guys. You guys support this show. You keep it going. We so appreciate your support. And if you get value out of this podcast, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abbie Show and help us keep this show alive and free of interruptions. Okay, let's get into it. How to get out of a writing rut fast. First tips.
First tip for me would be to take a break.
Yeah.
A lot of times we can be burning ourselves out without even knowing it and running on fumes, running on vapors.
Yeah.
And we need to pace ourselves. I talk about this a lot on my YouTube channel. I'm very much into taking care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit. So we can't expect ourselves to produce like machines. We're not machines. We are human beings.
Yes.
Haiku. Sorta.
Yeah.
Do whatever inspires you the absolute most. If you don't know what that is, take some time to find that thing. Find out what inspires you, whether it's reading certain books, watching certain films, going outside, going hiking, whatever. Find something that inspires you a lot. And it can be something very simple, like baking or going for a walk or spending time with your dog. It doesn't even matter. Could be, spending time with your spouse or your family or your kids. Take a break and do something that really fills you up, that really energizes you, something that you're like, oh, I really love doing this. This is it's food for my soul and for my heart. I love it. Find something like that and do that thing when you're starting to feel depleted emotionally or energetically. I think those things can be great tools to help us find that energy and plug into that restorative energy.
Yeah, totally, because you're filling your cup. And I think what gets a lot of writers feeling unmotivated and uninspired is when you have completely emptied your cup, so to speak, and you're just like shaking it upside down and nothing's coming out because you haven't been filling your cup. So you haven't been filling your life with things that are inspiring and life-giving. So how can you have anything to give when you haven't been giving to yourself? You haven't been receiving. You can't give until you have received something to give, I saw a great quote one time that was, I'll probably misquote it, but I think it said something like, you're tired or you're burnt out not because you've been doing too much, but because you've been doing too little of the things you truly love.
I love that.
Yeah, I thought that was all like, oh, that's really good. And I felt that. I'm like, at the time I was really burnt out when I saw that. And I'm like, that's so true. It's not even so much that, oh, I've been working too much or I've been too busy. It's that you haven't been doing enough of the things that you love. So identifying what those things are and making time to do those things, like non-negotiable. I have to get inspired. I have to fill my cup. I have to take part in life and fill myself with life in order to put out something creative and full of life.
Yes. Yeah, because you're only going to be able to give what you are also receiving.
Right.
for me too, that can be taking time to just look after yourself.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be like a big long break.
For sure.
I think it's important to mention that.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't have to be like, oh, I have to take a week off.
It could be an afternoon. It could be a couple days.
Yeah, exactly.
Weekend.
And that's the ideal, like, healthy, like, as far as preventative care goes, like how to prevent writer's block. I think we did a whole video on that one time. But preventing any creative block or creative rut, even just in life, is to be constantly adding these things to your life. Like, I think what the metaphor I used the last time was talking about, like, taking your vitamins, that, like, when you take vitamins, you stay healthier.
Yes.
Versus, like, waiting till you're ill and then being like, oh, I'll take vitamins. Well, it's kind of like that's not really going to help necessarily as much as it would have if you had taken them every day, you know?
Right. It'll take a lot longer for them to start kicking
and you
in.
might need, like, higher dose of vitamins, and you might need to do a whole diet in order to get you back on the right track. I see like burnout the same way, in that people who have to take, like, a lot of time off, or, like, I need to take a month off, or, you know, a year because I'm so burnt out. It's like, something went wrong, you know?
Right.
Like, you shouldn't have to take a huge amount of time for a break if you are, like, implementing things in your daily life that keep you inspired and happy, you know?
Right. It should be a balance between...
Yeah, a balance, exactly. Finding a balance between going after what you're trying to make and making things and enjoying it, and also looking after yourself and filling your own cup. Right.
Like, in martial arts, you learn about the yin and yang energy, and how you're balancing your chi, and how you're releasing your chi. And if you're just constantly, like, going hard at it, like, constantly high energy, you're going to burn out so fast. So it's about, how do you balance this high energy with soft energy, and finding that balance. That's where you get that beautiful concept that you can apply to every area of your life. You can find the soft energy to balance out the high energy, the productive energy that you put into what you're creating. There should, accompanying that, be that gentle energy that you are taking in to restore, to fill yourself up.
Yeah. I speaking of martial arts, I always loved how Sensei would say, relax, explode when you're going to throw a technique. And if you're just really, like, tensed up the whole time, you won't have that explosive technique.
Right.
Like, you have to relax, then explode in order to have an explosive, impactful technique. And the same goes for work and creative life, I think, is that you have to have a period of relax and care for yourself and fill your cup and gather inspiration so that you can explode with creative energy.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, because if you're constantly just like explode, it's
exactly.
like what happens is it's not sustainable. And so you can go like that. You can go hard, whether it's you're sparring or whether it's in a real life situation, whether it's in work, your work ethic. If you just go hard all the time, you'll burn out and have nothing. Whereas if you balance it, you can actually sustain that rhythm of relax, explode, relax, go hard at work, enjoy your life.
Yeah.
It needs to be a balance. It can't just be all the, giving all your energy to work, because then you won't be able to do that but a short period of time, and then you won't be able to do anything. You'll have to be like, okay, I need a big piece of time off just to try to rebuild.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you're in a writing rut or a lull creatively, even though it might not be as quick and easy, taking as much time as you need to rebuild, I think, is very important. Because if you are pushing yourself too hard, the tendency I find anyway with myself is, why isn't this working? And you kind of try to force it. And creativity can really never be forced like that. It won't feel good, as far as it won't feel inspired. There are times when you do have to have grit and push through slow days, but those are not the days where you're burnt out. Those are days where you are like intimidating yourself too much, like we always talk about. As far as when you're actually tired, you're actually burnt out, you're actually like in a rut, feeling like, just nothing is working, nothing feels good. It's time to like take a step back and recharge with something. And that could be a very quick thing. It doesn't have to be necessarily like I have to take a whole week off, or I have to, walk away from this writing project for a month or a year or whatever. Maybe it is that, or maybe it is simply, I'm going to go write a fan fiction. I'm going to go write something fun and self-indulgent for a day and just completely forget about that for now. Mm-hmm. And being able to give yourself that space is what will reignite your creativity, I find.
I agree. And for me too, like getting moving is a huge one, and something that I actively do in my writing routine. If I feel stuck, if I feel uncreative, I will usually pause and go do yoga, go have a yoga practice. And sometimes that can completely turn it around, because you're pairing breath with movement, you're oxygenating the body, you're physically moving yourself out of the stuck space. I think one of the things that we can tend to do when we feel stuck is to stay in the same physical space and try to muscle our way through it, when we actually need to get up and move around. We need to change our physical state of being, so that I think like our mental state gets affected by that. Our emotional state gets affected by that. How much we're actually physically moving around, rather than staying stuck physically and emotionally and mentally.
Yeah, that's so true. I find that really helps me as well. Even just going for a walk and just being present, like you were saying, the breath with the movement is such a good way to do that, to get out of your head and into your body more, and giving the thinking mind a break. And that includes your creativity a lot of times. When I get really good ideas, it's usually when I'm not trying to be creative, or I'm not trying to come up with an idea. It's just I'm usually just like chilling out, and something really brilliant comes to me, or some really good creative idea comes to me. And those are usually the moments when I'm the most present and just aware of what is really happening right now. Right. Not distracted by mental clutter.
Yeah. Pulling back from mental clutter can be so helpful, especially digitally. In today's world, we're so bombarded by media and advertisements and websites and social media. And the more we can step back from those things, I personally believe the more creative space we create for ourselves. It's sort of like decluttering a space, a physical space for yourself. You can create better when you have less clutter around you. And the same goes for mentally. If you are carrying around a bunch of mental clutter from things you're constantly seeing online, that's occupying space.
Yeah.
And when we have less of that, we turn up the volume on our own soul.
Yeah. I think that's a very cool way to say it. Yeah, I agree 100%. Everything that you are absorbing all day, whether you're watching something or even listening to music, all of those things take up space, like you were saying. They take up space in your mind, in your subconscious. You can tell because a lot of times you either dream about the stuff that you saw the day before, or you wake up with a song stuck in your head. That's all like the mental clutter. It's stuff that's like drifting around in your brain.
Right.
And so the cool thing is you can be specific and strategic about what you put there instead.
Exactly.
You can choose, for the most part, what you're going to encounter throughout your day.
Yeah.
Because most of what we encounter are things that we choose to put into our day.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, the things that we can control about what we bring into our lives, we should be very mindful about how we curate that. Yeah. And curate is the word that I love to use because it is thoughtful choice making, really.
Yeah.
And I think that keeping an open mindset is important when you feel like you're in a creative rut. To not lock into the block and not talk about it with other people and not dig yourself deeper into the rut. And what I mean by that is sometimes we can latch onto and hold onto a rut and actually prolong it by doing that. By time out online, identify or with friends, like, oh, I'm in a creative rut. Well, you're actually like creating more space for that in your subconscious. You're telling your subconscious all the time, oh, we're in a rut. We're in a creative rut. We can't create. We can't write. We have a writer's block. So the less you can talk about it with others, it's fine to acknowledge that you need a break or that you need to do something, but try not to let your subconscious hear you say that over and over and over again.
Because you're where your mind goes, your body follows, and your mind just wants to like agree with whatever is being believed and said. So if I've noticed this in myself, and the change is like nanoseconds. It's unbelievable, like how quickly you can shift into feeling like down and irritated because you're uncreative or whatever. And it's just like a mindset shift that happens so quickly when you're writing or you can't write. And for me, it shows up as if I'm feeling stuck on something, I start to think like, I'm stuck. And then my brain is immediately like, yeah, you're stuck. Like this isn't, it's not a good writing day. You're not doing good today. This is going to be a bad writing day. And it's like all of these negative, triggers kind of go off, like the neurons that wire together. And so like the old neurons from the last bad writing day are like, oh, we're right over here. We're ready to fire up again and have another bad writing day. And it's like, you can quickly shift away from that. Yes. I found like I like catch myself doing that and I'm like, nope, not going to go there. I'm not going to identify with this. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to confirm with myself that I am stuck. I'm just going to either walk away from this for a little while or take a break or do something else that is equally productive, but maybe not as creative today if I'm not feeling like that. And to not leave yourself like on a bad note, you know, to not walk away from it thinking I can't do that, so I'm walking away from it.
Yes.
You know, and on a high note. What you tell yourself, even if it's not working, you can still tell yourself something positive, like I'm gonna write this really amazingly and awesomely later.
Exactly.
And then walk away. Don't let it be, I'm stuck, I can't do this, and then you walk away.
Because right. And what it also tells your subconscious is like, we give in to whatever emotion happens to go through your head, which ultimately will not help you.
Yeah. So true. In life, in anything, really. And in writing. So you can decide what the narrative is in your head when you're walking away from your project, setting it aside for a little while or to take a break. And I recommend always having that self-talk be positive,
right?
Even if you don't necessarily feel super positive or optimistic about your project at the moment.
And I think meditation can help a lot. I meditate regularly. I actually have several meditations that I'll link below in the video version of this podcast. If you're watching on my YouTube channel, you'll be able to find it below. I have several meditations. Abbie also has a meditation that I will link. That's positive affirmations. Positive affirmations are very powerful. Whether you're saying them aloud or whether you're just allowing them to soak in while you're silently meditating and having a quiet moment before you start writing, it really sets the tone. You are mindfully choosing, you're making a conscious decision to start on a positive note. You are not allowing whatever emotions you may have stored up about this project to decide. You are consciously injecting the experience with positivity and with belief in yourself, with confidence in yourself, being at peace with yourself and what you're creating. So these are just affirmations and meditations that anyone can do, and they're short, small meditations. It only takes really like 5 minutes to sit down and start your writing day on a positive note. You don't have to meditate for like 20 minutes. If you can just take a few moments to mindfully curate what kind of energy you're bringing to this experience. That it's an important part of writing.
Yeah, for sure.
Important part of anything.
Yeah.
Anything
So
you're
true.
creating.
So true, because you're cleaning out your mental space, really. It's like the decluttering thing.
Yes.
You're mentally decluttering and creating a clean space to start being creative.
Yeah.
Making room for creativity. And I think another thing that is really helpful for me anyway, and I know this isn't necessarily something that's like readily available to every writer, but make it a priority to to bring this into your life, is to have an encouraging writing buddy who can help to push you out of the rut. So for me, obviously that is Kate, and for Kate, that's me.
Yes.
And it's so helpful to have a person in real life, especially if you can like have them like in front of you to communicate with.
Yeah.
But online works too. To have somebody who you can communicate with and just talk over any problem areas that you're having with your story. If you want some advice and some help to work through little problems and plot holes and things like that, or if you just need encouragement, it makes such a difference to have somebody encouraging you personally.
Yeah, it does.
And to have, especially if they're like, they know your story, they've been reading your story and they want to read more of it, that is a huge motivator for me anyway. When you encourage me and tell me like, oh, I can't wait to hear more of that, and I can't wait to read more of your story, that always gets me like fired up about it. Like, I want to write more. Like, even if I don't want to write more, I want to write more, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
it does. I know exactly what you mean.
I want it to exist so that I can like show you it and have you
share
read it. Yeah, and share it and make it something really good. And even just that little push can make like a huge difference.
Yeah.
And get you through a rocky area.
Yeah, it can.
Of creativity.
Yeah, it's the best kind of accountability, because
Yeah.
really accountability shouldn't be like, oh, did you write today? You know?
Yeah.
It's the encouragement and the friendship aspect that inspires you to be like, oh, I want to write more because I want to share it with them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's important.
It's like all kinds of good positive vibes. And it helps you to become a better writer.
Yeah, it does.
Especially by putting your work out there, even if it's just for one other person to read right now, it will help you to hone your skills and become a more disciplined writer and be willing to make adjustments and take critiques. And that's such a huge part of the writing process and an important skill to have going into a professional career as an author.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. And if you don't have anyone that you're able to communicate with about writing, another great way to get encouraged and inspired is to write fan fiction and share it, or even write short stories and share them on sites like you've done that before. And you can get amazing comments from readers who are really stoked to hear more about it. And it's a very cool experience. It can really inspire you creatively to see people enjoying what you have to say.
Yeah.
And looking forward to the next part.
Right, because isn't that like the writer's dream? That's at the very, like, the most basic writer's goal is to be able to share what you write and have someone else enjoy it.
Exactly.
Like, that's what we're here for.
It is. Definitely.
And also, if you need extra encouragement, go to my YouTube channel.
Yeah, go to Abbie's
some
YouTube
of my
channel.
videos.
Yeah, exactly.
My Write With Me live streams are a great way to get out of a writing rut quickly.
Exactly.
I've had a lot of writers on there saying that, like,
tons of writers writing together. Yeah.
To get over writer's block.
That's awesome.
Or just lulls.
Yeah, because it's like you're not there by yourself. You're there with like a bunch of other people, having fun, chatting about your projects.
Yeah.
Getting some writing in.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to Abbie's YouTube channel, go do so.
Yes.
youtube.com/Abbie
Emmons.
Awesome writing inspiration. But I think we've covered a lot in this episode about how to get out of a writing rut, taking breaks, finding things that inspire you, get moving, get out of the stuck atmosphere, do some physical exercise if you have to, keep an open mindset, don't lock into the block. Share your writing with others, have those amazing relationships that will come out of writing, that will revolve around writing, that will help to inspire and propel you forward.
Yeah. Boom. That's it. Do you have a inspirational quote for us?
I do, actually. This amazing quote that I came across by Randy Pausch. The brick walls are there for a reason. The brick walls are not there to keep us out. The brick walls are there to give us a chance to show how badly we want something, because the brick walls are there to stop the people who don't want it badly enough. They're there to stop the other people. So don't let the walls get in your way. Climb over them. Become a rock climber and scale up that thing and get over it. You know, it can be a growing experience. It doesn't have to be a miserable experience.
Yeah. Growth mindset. It's all about the growth mindset. I love it. Well, if you enjoyed this episode of The Kate and Abbie Show, please give it a thumbs up or a nice rating if you're on the other platforms, the audio platforms, or if you haven't seen the video version of this podcast, go to Kate's YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/KAEmmons. Check it out, and check out my channel as well, which we already mentioned, but youtube.com/Abbie Emmons. And thank you again to our amazing sponsors, who are you guys, our amazing patrons. If you get value out of this show, go to patreon.com/The Kate and Abbie Show and help us keep this show alive and free of interruptions. Until next week,
stay stoked
and rock on.